Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Want to come to you today with a pile of possibilities for the great reading event Historathon 2023. Now, if you're not familiar with the reading event Historathon 2023, it's a year-long reading initiative that is promoting nonfiction history. Now, this awesome event was the brainchild of Vin over at Revenant Reads, and he asked several of us to come help co-host this. And of course, I was being a history teacher. This was right up my alley, and I was very happy that he had asked. Unfortunately, this last quarter, the second quarter, I kind of had to take a time out. I had so many things going on in life, and then just different reading events I was participating in, and I just got behind on everything. And so I did read some books for first quarter that a couple of them I liked, a couple of them maybe not so much. And then, like I said, second quarter I took a time out. But I'm back for third and fourth quarter. So this is going to be a pile of possibilities for third quarter. Now, like I said, if you're not familiar with how things are going here, it's history nonfiction. And the first quarter of the year, we read ancient history to 500 AD. And then second quarter, we did 500 AD to 1500 AD. And then this third quarter is going to be 1500 to 1820. And then the fourth quarter, the last 3 months of the year, will be 1820 to the present. So as we get into the second half of the year, today being the first day of the third quarter of the year, this is getting into my wheelhouse as a reader. And so I'm a lot more familiar with the topics that are available. I'm not necessarily a professional in the earlier stuff, and I don't have a lot of recommendations to give for them first 2 quarters of the year. But here in the next couple quarters, I get more into what I'm comfortable reading. So I picked out 6 books that I would like to try to tackle here in the third quarter. Now, I don't know if I'll get all 6 of them done. I'm going to try. I don't know if I'll get all 6 of them done, but we're going to see. A couple of these are buddy reads, so that'll definitely help. And actually, there'll be 7 books. I'm sorry, 7 books. I have 6 of them here. One of them is upstairs, and I got to dig it out of my collection. It's kind of buried up on the bookshelves, and yeah, I got to get that one out. So let's just start with that one. So the first book that is in my pile of possibilities, excuse me, and I'll try to remember to put a picture up here if I can, is David McCullough, the late David McCullough's biography he did on John Adams, which was an absolutely awesome biography, is what everybody has said. I have read parts of it. I don't believe I have read the entire thing. And so I was doing a buddy read with Patrice Jones earlier in the year, and we were thinking about, what do we want to read, coming into, the later parts of the year, because this was early on in the year, and David McCullough had just passed away. And so we were like, man, we need to, try to do one of his books. And I'll be honest, what was I don't even remember what I was reading. What was I reading? Oh, we were reading Sam Adams's, the new book out on Sam Adams. And so we thought, why not read about John Adams? Because he was had a lot to do with early American history, obviously. And so Patrice and I are going to be doing that, I believe, in September is what we had agreed upon. So we're going to try sometime in September to get that one going. And so I'm really excited about that. The next book that I've had on the shelf for maybe 2 years now, and I've been wanting to get to it the last 2 years, and I keep putting it off, and now I'm gonna do it here. Is John Hardman's biography on Marie Antoinette, The Making of a French Queen. And this is getting out of my wheelhouse. This is definitely getting out of my wheelhouse. I do teach about the French Revolution, but reading-wise, I have not read a bunch on it. So it's got some really cool end papers. Got one of the Queen herself there. And this book is Yale University Press, and it's a 2019 book. So it's a fairly new book if you're talking my library, because I do used books. So it's a fairly new book, 4 years old. So let me read to you what this is all about. Obviously about Marie Antoinette, but maybe we can get a kind of a feel for where the author's going to go with the biography. Who was the real Marie Antoinette? Mistrusted and reviled in her own time, today she is portrayed as a frivolous princess incapable of understanding the events which engulfed her. But in this engaging account, John Hardman argues that neither version gets close to the truth. Drawing on new sources, Hardman reveals how Marie Antoinette played a significant and politically astute role in response to the crisis of the monarchy. She evolved into a queen who knew her own mind. She was embarrassed by the aggressive foreign policy of her brother Joseph II, bravely took over the helm from Louis XVI after the collapse of his morale, and when revolution broke out, listened to the Third Estate and worked with repentant radicals to give the constitutional monarchy a fighting chance. For the first time, Hardman looks beyond Marie Antoinette's glamorous facade and tragic end to show how, in her own inimitable way, the French queen came to exert true influence and power. And so, I'm looking forward to that. It looks like John Hardman also wrote a book on the life of Louis XVI. So he's well versed in this arena. So this will be good for my world history class at school, where we teach the French Revolution and then the impacts of what that had on not just France but all of Europe and the world, really. So looking forward to that. The next one that I'm looking at reading was one that Princeton sent me. And this is America Before 1787, The Unraveling of a Colonial Regime by John Elster. So, I'm looking forward to this. We'll be getting into the colonies right at the beginning of the school year, when school gets going here in a month and a half. We'll be back at it again. And that's where I start my 8th graders. We bring... We start with Jamestown and we just kind of roll from there, and we get the English over to North America, and I start with the English just in case you're wondering. I do hit the Spanish and the French and other groups that come over, but I do that in my 6th grade class when they come into middle school. It's part of our history unit, and then when I get into 8th grade, we kind of we lock in more on the English colonies. So I do hit the other groups. Don't think I ignore those. But anyway, this book came out this year, 2023. And so I was happy to have this. So this is, let's see. With America Before 1787, John Elster offers a second volume of a projected trilogy that examines the emergence of constitutional politics in France and America. Here he explores the increasingly uneasy relations between Britain and its American colonies and the social movements through which the 13 colonies overcame their seemingly deep internal antagonisms. Elster documents the importance of the radical uncertainty about their opponents that characterize both British and American elites, and reveals the often neglected force of enthusiasm and of emotions more generally in shaping beliefs and in motivating actions. He provides the first detailed examinations of divide and rule as a strategy used on both sides of the Atlantic, and of the rise and fall of the collective action movements among the Americans. Elster also explains how the gradual undermining in America of the British imperial system took its toll on transatlantic relations, and describes how state governments in the American Confederation made crucial institutional decisions that informed and constrained the making of the Constitution. Drawing on a wide range of historical sources and on theories of modern social science, Elster brings together two fields of scholarship in innovative and original essays. The result is a unique synthesis that yields new insights into some of the most important events in modern history. And so John Elster, let's see, what else has John Elster done? On the back flap, it's saying, let's see, he's the author of 20 previous books, including France Before 1789, The Unraveling of an Absolute Regime, the first volume in the present trilogy, let's see, Reason and Rationality. He's the author of Explaining Social Behavior and Securities Against Misrule, and Alex de Tocqueville, The First Social Scientist. So he's got quite a few books under his name. I have never read him, so this will be new for me, this author. So I'm real excited about that. Kind of keying in on that time period with these first few books. Here is another book that I'm going to buddy read with my good friend Brian over at Brian MR. He was talking, he wanted to read Alan Taylor's American Colonies. He was wanting to build on his knowledge of the American colonies. Like many, he felt that he got shorted on his history lessons in the colonies. Now, I could say in my classroom, we do not short on the colonial times, because that's kind of the bedrock of the United States. It's where everything started. It's the foundation work for the nation, and it's a lot of trial and error that we went through before we even got the Constitution going, before the Revolution and everything. It was a lot of trial and error to get our nation started, and that all is in that colonial time period. I find it very, very important to understanding where Americans come from. So, like I said, this is from Alan Taylor, and it's a Penguin book, and it was come out in the year 2001. So, again, like I said, this is going to be very heavily, colonial American history heavy on these. So, in American Colonies, Pulitzer Prize winning historian Alan Taylor challenges the traditional Anglo-centric focus of colonial history by exploring the many cultural influences that gave birth to America. The result is a superlative history of the pre-revolutionary era in North America that is unprecedented in its scope and sure to become a landmark. Excuse me. From the Paleo-Indian migrations into North America 15,000 years ago, through the European colonization of the 16th and 17th century to the late 18th century exploring of Hawaii and the settlement of California, Taylor broadens the picture of our origins. He combines environmental, social, cultural, economic, and political history to re-examine the North American colonization from the Atlantic to the Pacific and from the Arctic to the Caribbean. This expanded panorama includes the Spanish, French, Dutch, Russian ventures, as well as the more familiar colonies of England from the Atlantic seaboard. American Colonies also explores the painful ways in which the liberty of the colonists became intertwined with slavery for Africans. Above all, Taylor restores the Indian peoples to their central position in the story, for relations with them shaped every colonial region. He reveals how European colonists, enslaved Africans, and native peoples came together in new ways to reshape one another and a continent. They produced cultural and environmental changes at a pace and intensity unprecedented in global history, creating the world that we have inherited. The fascinating and provocative history will reward anyone interested in early America. So, very excited about that. That's going to be a good one. And Brian always adds, oh my goodness, he is so good at adding his commentary into, like, we'll do our chat on Voxer back and forth, and he just does a wonderful job in his interpretations of the readings and then carrying it into his personal thoughts, and I always enjoy buddy reading with him. So thank you, Brian, for doing that with me. That's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to start that one in a couple of weeks. Now, here's another buddy read I believe I'm doing because I've got to get a hold of Peg and make sure, Peg over at the History Shelf, and make sure that this is the book that we had talked about buddy reading, because I'm not sure. If not, I'm still going to read the book. But there might be another book added to this list if I'm wrong. So H.W. Brands is our first Civil War, Patriots and Loyalists in the American Revolution. And as you guys know, if you follow the channel, I love H.W. Brands' work. He is an excellent storyteller. Some things that I have noticed with Brands, and I don't know if this one will fall into that or not, but in his early works, they were, he's always been able to write for the public, but they had there was more scholarly stuff done with them, and they tended to be thicker books. And in recent years, his books have turned into the 300 to 400, maybe 450 page books that are meant for the masses, and maybe not done on quite as high a scholarly level. Still very well told, don't get me wrong. He still tells a good story, but he's backed off a little bit. And so I don't know if this one's going to be like that, but this is, our first Civil War. So it's getting into Loyalists versus Patriots. And I'm excited to see where he goes with this. And of course, Peg and I always like to study history together. We do buddy reads quite frequently, and it's been a few months since we done one, so we're due for one here soon. And like I said, I hope I picked the right one. If not, then I'll be adding another book to the list. Not a big deal. So I'm gonna get into that one. And by the way, that one came out, was it last year? This is a Doubleday book. Came out in 2021. So it's a couple years old. The next book that I've got on the list is, and I picked this up a couple of years ago, it's Flora Fraser's The Washingtons, George and Martha, Joined by Friendship, Crowned by Love. And, of course, the Fraser family, pretty famous for their works. This is from Alfred A. Knopf, and it's a 2015 book, so another, fairly new one, at least for my collection. And it says, the Washingtons' long union begins in colonial Virginia in 1759, when George Washington woos and weds Martha Dandridge Park Custis, a pretty, charming, and rich young widow. The calm early years of their marriage as a plantation owner at Mount Vernon and as parents to Martha's two children, Jackie and Patsy, both of whom present difficult challenges, yield to harsher times. Washington has been prominent among Virginians in opposing the British government measures, and at the outbreak of fighting in 1775, he's elected commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. The war sees Martha resolutely supporting her husband, sharing in the hardships at Valley Forge and other wretched winter headquarters. Essential to George's personal well-being, she is known as Lady Washington, a redoubtable and vastly admired figure in her own right. Flora Fraser provides us with a brilliant account of the public Washington and of the war he waged, and gives us as well the domestic Washingtons. Whether at Mount Vernon before and during the war, or in New York and Philadelphia during his presidency, even in wartime, Martha manages to scour Philadelphia to find a doll for the newest granddaughter and keeps careful control of her Virginia inheritance. George grapples with a formidable enemy without proper troops and often without basic supplies. His soldiers frequently lack rations, blankets, even shoes, while always fearful for his wife's welfare and safety, given the constant worry that the British might descend on Mount Vernon. Even so, a true Virginian, he manages to dance for more than 3 hours with Alexander Hamilton's pretty young wife at the makeshift ball. With victory and the arrival of peace in 1783, the Washingtons hope to remain at home, a hope dashed when, in 1789, George is elected our first president and Martha becomes a faultless first lady. During the presidency, they together negotiate the many pitfalls of establishing Republican entertainment, the weekly Congress dinner, levees, and drawing rooms, and before finally free of official responsibilities after Washington's second term, they are at last able to retreat to their beloved Mount Vernon. This is a remarkable story of a remarkable pair, as well as a gripping narrative of the birth of a nation, major and vastly appealing contribution to the literature of our founding fathers and founding mother. All right, so Flora Fraser, let's see, what else has she wrote? She has written Beloved Emma, The Life of Emma, Lady Hamilton. She's written The Unruly Queen, The Life of Queen Caroline. She wrote Princess, The Six Daughters of George III. And then Pauline Bonaparte's Venus of Empire. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what she has to say about the Washingtons. So that is, let's see, book number 6. And this is the last option, book number 7 for the next 3 months of Historathon 2023. And it's Band of Giants, the Amateur Soldiers Who Won America's Independence by Jack Kelly. So looking forward to that. It's from Palgrave Macmillan. It is a 2014 book. And let me read that inside cover of this one and then we'll wrap this up. So in this account, the fighting men who turned the ideas of the founders into reality were a diverse and surprising group of Americans. In this concise, riveting narrative of the Revolutionary War, Jack Kelly paints a moving portrait of its principal soldiers, merchants and mechanics, farmers and fishermen, paragons and drunkards. Most were ardent amateurs. Even George Washington, who was assigned to take over the brand new Continental Army in 1775, consulted books on military tactics. Henry Knox, the burly Boston bookseller who took over the American artillery at the age of 25, had never been in combat. Nathaniel Greene, brilliant but insecure, was a pacifist Quaker who became the youngest of the American generals. Hulking Virginia backwoodsman Daniel Morgan relied on his deeply democratic instincts and his skill as a bare-knuckle fighter. Focusing on a series of pivotal battles, Band of Giants vividly captures the fraught conditions of the war and the divided populace, the lack of supplies, the setbacks on the battlefield, and the appalling physical hardships in one of the most remarkable feats in world history. A group of inexperienced warriors confronted and defeated the superpower of the day, an accomplishment that turned them into a band of historical giants. So looking forward to that. Jack Kelly, our author, has also written Gunpowder, Alchemy, Bombards, and Pyrotechnics. That was another book that he wrote. So I've never read that author. Matter of fact, I don't know, other than H.W. Brands. Well, I've read David McCullough, but all the other authors in this stack of books are all brand new authors to me. So this will be good. This will get me introduced to some new writers. So BookTube. This has been Historathon 2023 third quarter pile of possibilities. Now mine is very heavily colonial revolutionary time period. Matter of fact, all of them deal with that, with the exception of the Marie Antoinette biography, but even that's in the same time frame. So that's where I'm going to kind of center my readings for the third quarter. What are you reading for third quarter Historathon? Are you involved in the Voxer chat? I highly recommend everybody to look that up and get signed into the Voxer chat. We've had lively discussions for the first half of the year. As Vin pointed out in his video, things have slowed down a little bit. I think that probably is natural with it being a year-long event. But there's still plenty of stuff being said back and forth. And we're not only on Voxer, but because that one really slowed down. We're also on Discord. Discord has been pretty consistent in the discussions that are going back and forth. So I would highly recommend getting signed up for both of them, but especially Discord. I kept saying Voxer. Discord is where it's all happening. Not that you shouldn't get into Voxer. Go ahead and get into that one too. But the Discord app has been wonderful, and we've shared all kinds of just comments, ideas back and forth, videos. There's been stuff not just with the quarter that we're in. There's also been kind of rabbit trails that people have taken in their research. People have talked about just different videos out on on YouTube that deal with some of these different historical events. We've added in music, we've added in food, we've added in all these different things that all are included in history. It's been an absolute wonderful experience. Now, if you have been following, I know I have not said a whole lot. I have read everything that's went through, but I haven't said a whole lot. Because as I said, those first 2 quarters, I probably don't have a lot to add to the discussion just because I'm not very well read in that. But I have thoroughly enjoyed all of the other people who are either co-hosting, hosting, or just participating in the event. It's been wonderful. I've been learning a lot, and I hope to continue that for the second half of the year. So go out and find us on Discord, find us on Voxer, join the chat, join the event. All you got to do is read one book. In 3 months' time, read one book in that time frame. 3rd quarter's right now, so it's 1500 to 1820. So if you can find a book in there, you are participating. So BookTube, I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and hopefully maybe I gave you some ideas for some different books to read. I'll try to maybe put my 2 cents in on the Discord app based on what I'm reading. So anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And until next time, happy reading.